Hey guys, today's November 17, 2017, and I just want to show you something with his hoof. After the race I said that he actually went several miles barefoot, and I expected him to be sore, but he wasn't. He actually has a ton of, I think this is what people call retained or false sole. You'll see the sole over here, and then you see how this entire piece from here all the way over here, it's held on by this bar, and same on this side. It's this retained sole, and it's pretty thick. I've already begun shaving it down. Now, a lot of people will just tear that right off. They're like, it's a retained sole, it's a false sole, it's going to cause issues, it's going to cause bruising, blah, blah, blah. But I actually don't believe that. I believe that this is how the body makes its own hoof boot, and it's a hoof boot that can stay on when no other hoof boots can. I can take this off. This is very ready to come off. If I had two hands available, I would lift this with my hoof knife, and you would see that this whole probably to about there is about ready to come off. But I also know I'm going to trim this flap down and stuff to maybe about there, like I've done on this side. But I'm pretty much gonna leave it because I do trims every week, and so I am able to keep an eye on it and make sure that it doesn't cause any problems. But for the most part, I think it's protective. I think this is a horse's natural hoof boot. It's dead tissue, it's solid, it's absorbs shock, and it's good stuff. Here I have a piece of it that here I have a few pieces that I've broken off, so you can see it just tears off as big chunks like this when it's ready to go. And this one is a better piece to show you. At one point, see, here's where it tore off, but here you can see at one point it is this thick, and I've seen it thicker too. And this is the part that was touching the ground, and this is the part that was up against his sole, and you can see it was no longer attached to his live sole, so it came right off. And it's pretty flaky and chalky, although there is quite a bit of waxy in here as well. But I believe that this is a horse's natural hoof boot. When they have live sole, then there's different levels of tenderness in live sole. A horse that's been shod all his life, like Lasair was, his live sole, when we first took off his shoes, his steel shoes, was very, very, very tender. I mean, he could not step on rocks at all. Right now, his live sole, because it's been compacted and created more dense by the presence of this dead sole underneath it. So the dead sole is underneath, his live stuff is on top, and as the dead stuff is building and building, it's compressing the live stuff inside. And then as more live stuff from the top is growing down, it's compressing and creating denser. Then the bottom stuff dies off, and it's like a formation of a callus, right? The bottom stuff dies off, it condenses and compacts and dies off, and then separates from the live sole. And that is stuff that if rocks hit it and it tears it off, it's no big deal, because this was his protection. I know that it's a very, very controversial topic. People call it a false sole, they call it a retained sole, they say it causes bruising, they say that it's a problem, they say that you need to shave down to the live sole all the time and stuff. But my question is why? Why shave it down to the live sole all the time? When I cut my fingernails too short, I don't have to quick myself to make my fingertips tender. I have to leave a certain amount of fingernail and to be comfortable and still be tough. And be able to grab things with toughness. I don't have to quick it in order for it to be tender. You see what I'm saying? So I mean, there's so much weight and force on their hooves, it doesn't seem unreasonable to have a little bit of something to protect, especially if the horse has enough exercise and stimulation that they are able to break these off naturally on their own, through their regular running through rocks and stuff like that. This stuff breaks off. And so it breaks off, and so I can see if there's a problem if the horse is always stalled, always on soft ground, and this stuff never comes off. And then the bars get too tall, and the walls get too tall, and the entire hoof just gets too long, and it's completely packed down with with like a ton of false sole, and it just keeps building and building because that's a problem with the housekeeping, with the because the horse is not stimulating his hoofs properly and is not breaking these away naturally. Then I see it's a problem. But a horse like Lasair that is actively using every bit of his hoof, and he is tearing these off just as fast as he's building them, then I don't see it as a problem. In fact, my goal is kind of to let him build these in training, because I know on race day he's going to tear these off, and then I want them to tear off slowly and not in such big chunks, because I want to make sure that the live stuff underneath still has that we're not tearing straight to the live stuff, that there's still enough of the dead stuff in there to protect him. So anyways, just some thoughts on this topic, and I don't know. It makes sense to me. If it doesn't, or if you have questions or you want to talk about it, yeah, let's talk about it. But this is what I've been seeing with Lasair, and this is what I believe is going to be replacing our hoof
So I guess
boots.
what happens is, if you're trimming a horse that never sees extreme movements and miles and all that stuff, and they're never going to use that calloused sole. I'm going to call it calloused sole because I think it's a good thing in relation to him. He needs it. He's gonna use it. He's gonna burn through it. So I want to leave it on him. But on a horse that doesn't do that kind of stuff, and if you leave it, all it's gonna do is build and build and build and build and trap bacteria and create problems. And especially if you don't level it out, and there's high points, and it can cause bruising and all that stuff, then yeah, you definitely want to keep on top of that and do the trimming for the horse. And you're doing the trimming for the horse because if we go by what they say, that wild horses travel 25 to 35 miles a day, and your horse isn't doing that, oops, he's gonna go pee, and I'm sorry, I don't know where to look, and your horse isn't doing that, then you have to trim for the horse, because the horse's hoof isn't going to stop growing just because you're not using it. It's not going to grow as fast, it's not going to be as dense and stuff like that, but it's not going to stop growing, right? So that is why we need to step in and trim. But if the horse is doing that and exceeding it, like if you put 100 miles on your horse in one day, that's not normal. That's not something the horse would naturally do on its own. So of course his hoof and nature hasn't never made a plan for that, never made a plan B for in case that happens, right? Unless if your horse does it all the time, but that's something that we humans have put upon the horse. And so that is extenuating circumstances that the horse isn't ready for. But anywhere around 30 miles a day should be reasonable, for the hoof to be able to manage and have a plan for. And I think that callous sole is the horse's plan for that. And you really have to see what the exercise level and what the horse's needs are. Listen to that individual horse when you talk about trimming them and stuff like that. So anyways, just thought that was something interesting that you guys might want to hear about. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye guys.